Welcome to Down and Distance Podcast, where we talk about topics that are focused on leading with purpose and advancing with strategy. I'm excited today because today I've got a guest, Dr. Billy Crow, and we're going to talk about a recent workshop that we did, or a walkthrough, I guess is what we called it. Isn't that right, Dr.
Yeah,
Crow?
walkthrough. Like the before game day, the last walkthrough, maybe before the real thing.
Yeah, and that was the idea is, part of Down and Distance is one of the components is workshops, 4 to 6 hour workshops where we just kind of get together and dive into topics that we as men are passionate about, that deal with our leadership or as husbands, as fathers, as leaders in general in our workplace or with our friends or honestly, probably my biggest struggle is leadership of myself. And so part of that is 4 to 6 hour workshops where we get together and we just kind of really do a deep dive into some of these principles and concepts. And the great thing about it, and what was fun about the last Saturday, was just kind of getting together and finding out what everybody else is struggling with and realizing maybe you're not so far off on some ways, and maybe you are a little far off on some ways, but somebody else has been there and done that and kind of can help walk you through that. So
That was probably actually my biggest takeaway. I mean, we got together. Your reach is, other colleagues, other guys that we're around, that we work with, that are part of our kind of lives that way. Some former players, just some guys, and we have all these different roles of dad, husband, and then we have roles at work. And yeah, it was cool just to realize, yeah, other dudes are struggling with some of the same stuff. Other dudes are doing other stuff well that I can learn from. And so it really kind of had that team feeling of everybody bringing their skill set, and it was just a really good time together.
yeah, it's funny too the way you said that, because I actually was fortunate enough to have a conversation today with a former player of mine, Griffin Kuhn, played for me years ago, and he visited us at school today, I mean, honestly, that's one of my favorite things about being a coach, is seeing these guys that are now leading companies and their husbands and their fathers, and they somehow find time to swing by and say hello. Makes my day. But we started talking about that, and we were talking about leadership as a whole, and how in today's time it's almost become a negative to accept your weaknesses, so to speak, and how if you really want to be a great team player, you take your strengths and you align them with someone else who that's their weaknesses, and then their strengths align with your weaknesses, and then being willing to kind of let those roles overlap a little bit. And that was what was fun to me about last Saturday. And I didn't get to really participate because I was
Pretty participating.
I was more watching or trying to facilitate and honestly learn a little bit about what I was trying to do. But it's still fun to just kind of see, like, listen to how they've worked through a similar, it's not always the same obviously, but a similar scenario, because it's something that I'm not great at in that area, so learning from their strength was something I enjoyed.
Yeah, I mean, ever since, and I think we'll talk a little bit maybe today about kind of how we've gotten to this point, but like ever since we first talked about this idea as a concept, I've been excited about it because, of course, you say football and we come running. I mean, that's the easy part, right? But like these lessons and these things are combining of football and biblical concepts to help us, as your tagline just said, to move with strategy, to not just be getting through life, but to be purposeful. In the things that I'm doing as a dad, the things that I'm doing as a husband, as a coworker, that I don't want to just be existing, but hey, I'm working and trying to be a better version of myself, and I have strategies to do that. I have concepts to do that. And so, like I sat between a couple of your former players and their younger guys, and at 23, 24, I wish I would have had some of those concepts to start out that process. So it's great to talk football, and it's great to enjoy that part of it, but it's cool to see God moving in these guys' lives too, and them doing things on purpose that will just continue to pay off, year after year after year. And so, yeah, it was great to be around, and you did a phenomenal job leading us. And I know that was kind of not your very first, but a first run at doing like a full quarter.
Yeah.
So how did you feel about that, kind of really diving in with, live bodies in front of you?
Yeah, I mean, I felt good about it. It's easy because it was comfortable because, the guys that were there, our was it
Familiar
was a safe
faces.
place.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were familiar. They were familiar teammates. So that was nice. But and I think I said this day that day, and I'll say it again because it, the fact that that's a Saturday morning. They didn't really. I didn't promise them anything. They ended up getting a coffee cup or something
Did,
and
yeah.
a stress ball out of the deal. But to have 13 people willing to give up 6 hours or 4 hours, I think it was 4 hours of their Saturday, just to come and support me meant a lot,
Yeah.
and that's a big deal. And so many of them in the room. I won't necessarily list them, but this has been a 15, 16 year labor of love as far as just trying to figure out where is down and distance going. And I've had so much help over the last couple months, just kind of directing my focus and um, kind of changing the makeup of where it was going and what it was originally going to be. And you've been such a big part of that, which is why I'm glad you're my first
Glad to be
official
here,
guest. But that just the idea of finding a way to kind of break down the walls between fathers and sons, or two men that maybe find it hard to have some tough conversations and they don't really know where to start. Like football's a great place to
It
start
is,
because whether you've played it or you didn't play it, whether you love it or just kind of enjoy it, it's a very common, safe language for
yeah. Sure.
everybody. Um, and so to have that opportunity and have those guys come, I thought it went okay.
I did too. And you had
Um,
guys there from like guys married 20, 25, 30 years. I think some of the group was. We had some high school students
yeah,
there.
yeah.
And like it didn't matter. The biblical concepts and the football concepts that got them there apply to everybody. It's not like there's just one demographic that these sort of things speak to.
Yeah, well, I think eventually I think that's I think that's the big picture thing that gets me the most excited is it's not age specific. It kind of fits anybody. It's a very easy way to address concerns, needs, strengths. Like we always focus on the negative, but there's positives too. Like just like we have to understand how to come back from a turnover in a football game, we have to understand how to come back and respond to making a big play too, because you can't just keep doing that. You've got to get back on schedule, so to speak, and start calling plays based on your game plan again. You can't just keep, so there's value in that too. And so it's fun to see, like you said, I think a 10th grader was the youngest one there. And then the oldest gentleman there was
I'm not about to guess how old he is because if he sees this, it'll be
50s. I'm not, at least 35.
at least. Yeah.
But, seriously, and so to hear so many common threads among the group, but then the differences and the fact that a 10th grader got to listen and learn from an older experienced person, but then also listen to someone just young 20s, early 20s that kind of they're just kind of going into some of that phase. So I think it went well. It was exciting. I learned a lot. I'm definitely excited about that being a part of this.
That's a great walkthrough. It bothered me a little bit because I got a little convicted. Not gonna lie on one of the sections because there's some stuff you realize you're not doing as well as you can, and that's the beauty of it is you come together and you can. We're talking about football. We're a bunch of other guys. You feel comfortable. You feel safe, as you said. And so that opened you up to being willing to do that and share some stuff. So it was good in that respect, and it was also good. Pardon the pun, but like during part of it, we huddled up in groups. And it wasn't just, hey, we're going to listen to you talk. I love to hear you talk. You know that. I have you chapel all the time. But there was also, here's this concept. All right, now you guys get together and try this.
Right.
Do this. Put it into practice, which, again, as a football coach, I mean, that's where the money's made, right? You can talk about it all day, but until you go out on the field and do it,
Right.
you're not accomplishing something. So I love that aspect of it, too.
Yeah.
Getting to actually talk with guys and do some of these things we're learning about. And that was a big takeaway for me too. So, and there's everything. From football, you have, I think you've got sessions on everything from like the coin toss and the kickoff to, responding to a turnover or responding to a big play and all sorts of stuff. And so there's lots of different things that this down and distance as a whole can speak to. It's very detail oriented.
Yeah. We have 8 total plays, and I won't try to rattle them all off right now, but it's everything from understanding what a coin toss represents and how that applies to our lives directly, and that moment of commitment. And you have to make a choice, and regardless, you're a captain on the field, so you're standing out there publicly for everyone to see, which I think is a big part of it. I think we're great about making commitments when nobody has to, when there's no one to hold us
Just
accountable.
between me, yeah.
I commit to this. No one knows. But when you do it, a captain does it out in the middle of the field where everybody can see. There's a referee.
They announce it over
telling
the PA system,
everybody what it is. So at that point, you're stuck with it. And I think, but sometimes I think that we think the only person making the decision is the one that won the coin toss, but that's not how it works. So if you win the coin toss, yeah, you make a decision, but then now I have to make a decision based off of your decision. So my options are limited, but my decisions are still based on what I think's best for me in that moment. How do I want to start this game? Okay, he chose the ball. That's fine. That means I'm kicking. Which way do I want to kick from? And I've got to think ahead. So what does that mean for me in the next quarter going into half? And
the start of the second half.
Yeah, so there's so many things that go into that moment. So that's a part of it. It's a coin toss, and then the kickoff is a different play than any other play you're going to run in the game. It's incredibly unique. And so once you've made that commitment, well, now you need to have something in your life that represents that kickoff that says, hey, I am starting this. Everybody watch. Here we go. And you can tell because it doesn't look like any other play you're going to see the rest of the game. And so that's a part of it. And we do talk about clock breaks, which I think is a big deal too with men, and how to be strategic in the down times, and how to maximize timeouts and half times and quarter changes and the times when the clock's not running, and how we as men in those moments like to just leave me alone.
So I love that. So you actually talked about that in the walkthrough. So like if you call, I've been to football games. I imagine that's why people are here. During a timeout, your players don't come over and like lay down on the sideline. They don't wander. They don't go to the concession stand.
Right.
As a bowling coach, I let my kids go to the concession stand. I don't think your guys are getting an Eagle Burger or anything.
I think you have them getting you food from the concession.
Not neither here nor there, but even the timeouts matter and how we conduct ourselves, and that's a biblical concept. When our lives maybe aren't moving forward, it still matters how we act in those moments. And so I loved even that aspect of football. Is covered in down and distance.
Yeah, utilizing that time so when the clock does start again, you're ready. You didn't just sit around and kind of do nothing. You were active. I think I also said they're also not running in place or doing push-ups.
Right,
so
100%.
you are taking a break.
Resting,
you are resting, but you're resting strategically, and you're maximizing that time. And so that's a big one for us when down and distance. That's for men. I think that's a big one. We talk about middle 8 and down and distance, those middle 8 minutes of a game, and basically
going into like halftime and coming out of halftime.
Yeah, finishing strong the first half, and then or finishing with great momentum and coming out strong and coming out with momentum and kind of getting that next half started well to set yourself up for success. So we talk about that. We talk about the 4 quarters of life, which is another one of my favorite ones because it can be life in general. So like for me in my career, I'm in the elevate stage of my career, right? So life is learn, initiate, finish, and elevate. So I'm in the elevate, unfortunately.
Of the career part.
Of the career part. I'm at the elevate part. So I've done the best I can do.
But you're at the beginning part of like this ministry.
Yeah.
So you can be in different quarters.
Right.
And different
So
things.
right now I'm learning. Yeah. I've been learning how to do podcasts, and I've been learning how to do workshops, and I've been learning how to do whatever. I'm in finishing stage of my life. I'm 50 years old. So right now I'm trying to spend the next 10, 15 years to finish well so that I can then get to elevate for that. But I'm at elevate of my career where I'm looking at younger coaches and how can I help younger coaches be successful? How can I help them learn from my mistakes? So literally my life as a whole, I'm in 3 completely different quarters at the same time. And so that's exciting to me, and that's fun because they all are similar, but they're not, So we talk about that. It's a big one.
A minute ago you said, like, even with the coin toss, that someone wins the toss, they make a choice. Well, now you have to respond to that.
Right.
To me, that was, at that breakfast a long time ago, visiting about this. That's what I loved about down and distance, is it is about how every situation is different.
Right.
Every second down is not the same second down based on the distance. There's different plays for that, and that's part of what you're teaching through the biblical concepts here. Me and you may go through the same thing, but because of our lives being different, my distance may be different than yours. We may approach it differently, but the Bible speaks to all that.
Yeah.
How does that, from a football coach standpoint, how does down and distance translate to like spiritual things?
Well, I think what you just said, like, I think it matters too. And the piece we forget as far as the football side of it is, I'll stay with second down since that's what you said. We'll just keep it simple and say second and 5, since that's kind of that weird gray area.
Okay.
Not every second 5 is the same, right? So
In the first quarter versus.
yeah, if it's the first quarter, second 5, I'm still learning. Of course, now we're going back to the learning, initiate, finish, and elevate. But I'm still learning the defense. So the calls I'm calling, what I would call there would be an educated call, meaning it's never a just, let's try this and see what happens. It's educated based on the fact that I had done film study all
Hang
the
on.
way.
I'm afraid that's what we as men do too often.
Well, it's
Let's just
exactly
try
what
something and just see what happens. But with this, there's a reason for
yeah,
everything.
that's exactly what we do. We just, my gut's telling me, okay,
Yeah.
let me know how that works out
Yeah.
for you. It's never worked
Not
out.
good usually.
Never
Yeah.
worked out for me. And so the decision I'm going to make, I've watched film for a week, right? We've ran them in practices, so I know what we're doing well. Defensively, they do this,
And we've seen them do a
and
few
we see-
things.
yeah,
now,
on this
so.
side of the field, and so I think we're going to do this, and so we've had meetings in the office. So I've counseled or I've discussed this with other men in the same situation, other experts in that field. So the decision I'm making is an educated one, but the reality is it's still a guess at that point.
We just
'cause
haven't
you're
been
still-
in the thing long enough to know.
right. But you make that same decision in the fourth quarter. Well, now you're doing it based on the experience of that game.
Right.
So now you have a lot more behind the decision you're making. Well, that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is if it's week 2 and we're playing a team that's an odd front team, that's heavy blitz, that's whatever, well, that's a situation where I may be looking at like quick game or something like we were talking about earlier, where I may try to just get a leverage win and throw a quick pass and go from there. If it's not, if it's like an old school ace front, shell coverage, whatever, we're going to run the ball there and try to get in a managed third. So even that matters.
You're
So
also deciding what may happen next down if I have to
That's
get
right.
to that. So like
That's
there's
right.
all that comes into play.
So then you take that and you put it in my life. You said spiritually. You put it in my life as a husband. Okay, well,
How long have you been married?
26
What
years.
else is going on
That's right.
in the light? Yeah.
My second and 5 decision now is going to be based on the last 20 something years of my marriage. So it shouldn't, if I'm not being selfish and I'm not trying to just look out for Justin and I'm not trying to do what's best for Justin, I'm trying to be a great husband that God has called me to be.
Right.
Then I'm making decisions in that scenario based off of the experiences. So I know what her needs are. I know what her preferences are. I know what my weaknesses as a man are. I know what the expectations are. That decision's very, very different than that second or third year of marriage where
We're still learning quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and I've always thought that should be flipped, by the way. I'll just go step to a side. As we get older, longer in our marriage, we tend to have bigger houses, more rooms.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it should be the other way.
Place to hide.
When I was when I was 3 years into my marriage, I needed more rooms.
Yeah. I have a shop now. Where was that when I needed
hide.
somewhere to go out to? Yeah, 100%.
But no, seriously. So that's how that plays into effect. So the defense are the things you're going against. Well, in football, it's a literal defense, or it's the opponent, I should say. It's literal defense, or it's the time on the clock, or it's the fans.
Personnel.
Yeah, it's the personnel, whatever. Well, for me as a man, spiritually, it's time, right? It's pressures at work. It's pressures at home. Maybe someone's sick or someone's not well or finances
Kids
are
are in
poor,
college,
or kids are in college, or we have a major decision we have to make, or we didn't get money in silver early enough and now silver's
Our
about to
Bitcoin is,
skyrocket. Yeah. So but it's the same idea. It's the same principle. And I think that's why I was excited. You and I have been I'd say you do know this, but you and I have been talking about this for well over 2 years as far as just taking what I think I know about football. I won't call myself an expert by any means, but what I think I know about it.
I'll call you that.
And, you have a doctorate, so you are an expert in.
Go ahead.
I'm not
Go
going to
ahead.
do it. No,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it. I'm sorry.
On tape forever.
I'm not putting
Glitter.
it on tape.
Coach Kramer believes that I received a doctorate for going to the extra day of Vacation Bible School this Saturday, and they just give it to you if you go on
I
Saturday.
learned how to do glitter. That's a joke.
100%.
That was always a joke. So, but anyway, taking my football knowledge, taking your knowledge of Scripture and what God's called us to be, and finding so many ways that they overlap. That's what I love about this.
Me too.
And then the ability to deliver it through, 45 minute to 1 hour, just motivational talks or keynote speeches or whatever you want to call them, to 2 or 3 hour mini workshops, to 6 hour full day,
the full weekend,
full workshops,
retreats
to retreats, to whatever. I don't know. It's exciting to me,
100%.
and we're in the learning phase, right? But it's exciting to me to see where this is going to go, and I can't stress enough how grateful I am. And I won't say names because I'll forget people, but you and
There's been a lot of folks I know that, and like I say, we talked a long time ago. This idea has been in Justin's head for a long time.
Yeah.
And then when God times it out and opens those doors, it's really, you've done a ton of work the past 6 months to start doing these retreats. And that walkthrough was kind of a culmination of that, an end of that part, but also a beginning, because now you're ready to jump out and do those. And like I say, you can break them up into, like I said, 8 hours, 6 hours, 2 hours, and they all speak to different aspects, different groups.
Right.
They'd be great in a lot of different circumstances.
Yeah.
Again, I would just say, whether you're a business guy, a pastor like me, we want our men be leaders. Well, they don't know how. Well, Down and Distance tells them how, and gives them some tangible tools to use. And so I just, whether it's, I'm so excited for you. I'm excited with you that all of this thought and prayer that you've spent a decade or more doing is coming together and is getting out there, and it's going to change a lot of lives. And I'm super excited to be a little part of it with you, because it's good stuff.
Well, you've been a big part of it, so I appreciate that.
I'm glad.
So I appreciate Dr. Crow being with me today. I could sit and talk to you for hours,
too,
especially about stuff like this. So hopefully this is not the last time we do that. But thank you guys for listening. I know we went long today, but we wanted to just kind of give you an idea of what Down and Distance was to its core, where we're going with it. If there's something that you're interested in, man, please reach out to me. You can go to our website at www.downanddistance.org. There's a lot of options there and ways to kind of figure out if there's a way that we can partner with you to help you do the things that you're trying to do. So just remember, you don't control the clock, you don't control the crowd, but you do control how you drive the field. So know the down, know the distance, and call the right next play. I'm Justin Kramer, and this is Down and Distance.